Good day viewers, welcome to another edition of the Daily Strange Stories. I'm John Brown. As we approach the end of the work week, I hope you're feeling energized and ready to finish strong. Our lead story for today. General Mkhwanazi drops more bombshells in Parliament. A crime scene, not in the streets, but in the halls of power. The victim is justice itself. The weapon is a letter. The suspects are some of the most powerful figures in South Africa. This is the story of a cover-up so audacious, so meticulously planned, that it could only be exposed by someone willing to risk everything, and that someone is none other than Lieutenant-General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, South Africa's most celebrated police officer. On October 9, 2025, Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi became that someone, once more, when he gave a damning testimony before a special parliamentary committee where he unveiled shocking bombshells, including details pertaining to the dismantling of an elite police unit, the Political Killings Task Team, which he says was no accident. It was a deliberate act, orchestrated from within, and designed to protect those who thrive on violence and corruption. The key to unlocking this mystery lies in a seemingly innocuous letter, a document that holds the secrets to a conspiracy that could shake the nation to its core. The story begins, as many such tales do, with a single piece of paper. A letter, dated the 31st of December 2024, signed by the then Police Minister, Senzo Mchunu. On the surface, it was a simple administrative directive addressed to the National Police Commissioner, Fanny Masemola. Its instruction, however, was anything but simple. It ordered the complete dismantling of an elite police unit known as the Political Killings Task Team, or PKTT. The letter claimed the unit had no value. But for those on the front lines of law enforcement, this explanation was not just inadequate, it was unbelievable. The PKTT had been formed for a critical reason, to investigate and put a stop to the plague of political assassinations that had long haunted the province of KwaZulu-Natal, a region where political power was too often decided by the barrel of a gun. General Mkhwanazi, in his testimony, presented a startling alternative narrative. He told the committee that he did not believe for a moment that Minister Mchunu was the true author of that fateful letter. He painted a picture of a minister who was merely a signatory, a pen in the hand of unseen and powerful figures. Mkhwanazi suggested that if the minister were to be honest, he would admit that someone else had crafted the document and compelled him to sign it. The general went further, issuing a stark warning that if the minister were to appear and claim full responsibility for the letter's contents, there would be serious trouble. The decision to disband the team, he insisted, was made without any consultation, without any briefing to the police leadership, and without any logical basis. It was, in his view, a product of backroom deals and political manipulation.
While the letter contains all the three subjects, the last one that talks about the disestablishment of the team, without giving reasons, without explaining what happens to the investigation, that for me is the one that could be regarded as breaking the law. So, in short, in summary, I will say then the letter does break the law, although not the entire content.
To support this claim, Mkhwanazi pointed to the minister's own chief of staff, a man named Cedric Ngabinde. The general recounted conversations where Ngabinde had allegedly revealed that the letter was going back and forth. To Mkhwanazi, this was a clear sign that the document was being carefully crafted and edited by others, not by the minister himself. It was being shaped and perfected by hidden hands before being placed on the minister's desk for the final, decisive signature. But why would powerful figures want to dismantle a unit investigating political murders? Mkhwanazi provided a chillingly direct answer. He, along with National Commissioner Masemola, believed the move was a calculated effort to protect a single, politically connected suspect. The man's name is Vusimuzikat Matlala. He had been arrested just before the PKTT was ordered to stand down.
And then what was the justification for the closure of the Political Killings Task Team?
Look, as I said, I don't want to dwell more in that regard. I don't know. I don't know the reasons. But I'm sure you heard Mkhwanazi said, after Ket Matlala was arrested, it became clear as to what the reasons were. So I don't want to get deeper into that.
His alleged connections reach high into the police force itself. He is reportedly linked to a senior police officer, General Shadrack Sibiya, and a controversial businessman named Brown Mkhwanazi. Both Sibiya and Mkhwanazi, in turn, are reported to have ties to the very minister who signed the letter, Senzo Mchunu. The timing was too perfect to be a coincidence. It appeared that just as the net was closing in on a key suspect, a political lever was pulled to call off the hunt. The web of influence, according to Mkhwanazi, extends even further. He spoke of a disturbing trend where junior police officers were bypassing the chain of command, colluding directly with politicians to influence police leadership and operations. He cited an example of General Shadrack Sibiya sending a WhatsApp message directly to a deputy minister, a breach of protocol that hinted at a parallel power structure operating within the police service. Mkhwanazi confirmed that this matter was now the subject of an internal investigation. The sudden collapse of the PKTT, once a beacon of hope in a troubled province, had now become a symbol of a deep and pervasive rot. In a further twist, it was revealed that some of the key dockets the team had been working on, which had been taken away, were recently returned. They had allegedly been held in General Sibiya's office in Pretoria, far from the investigators who needed them. The general also spoke of more tangible evidence, mentioning WhatsApp messages directly linked to the decision to disband the task team. These messages, he stated, are now part of a criminal investigation. He cautioned the Parliamentary Committee that the public disclosure of classified material had already compromised the safety of police operations, a clear reference to the high stakes involved. This issue of leaked information brought another figure into the spotlight, Diane Kohler Barnard, a member of Parliament from the Democratic Alliance. General Mkhwanazi had previously accused her, both at this inquiry and another commission, of disclosing classified intelligence information. He claimed these leaks had led to targeted attacks on the Crime Intelligence Unit. The accusation has put immense pressure on her, with calls for her to step down from the very committee investigating these matters. Her party has stated it is seeking legal advice on the matter, but for now, she remains. As the committee members absorbed these revelations, the leader of the economic freedom fighters, Julius Malema, posed a question that would lead to another, even more shocking, bombshell.
Honorable Nhlanhla, we must refuse the temptation to want to make a determination of representatives of other parties as people who don't come from those parties. And SMK, we should actually be even more concerned because we are sitting in the JSC today without Honorable Tlhophe, which they wanted to dictate to you that you must remove him and all manner of things. And you refused. Until now, we are short of a member of parliament in the JSC because you refused that no one is going to dictate to you as to who you are sending to the JSC. You have expressed your views, and I've always maintained, and many of you deliberately decide to misinterpret me, that recusal, it's a personal decision. You have raised issues. The DA has listened to you. She has heard you. Whether she takes a decision to stay or not to stay, the public will take a decision about that. It's her decision. But to sit here...
Point of order, Chair. Procedural.
Try me. I don't think you want to sleep. Try me.
Can we take the point of, but before we take the point of order, Honorable Malema, when you say try me?
No, I'm on the floor. You didn't say I must stop. So I'm making my points. Try me, boys. That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about any other thing. I'm just saying.
Chair, it still remains a procedural issue.
Yeah.
No. I'm speaking until you tell me to stop. When a point of order is called, only you can tell me to stop.
Yeah, no, I'm taking the point of
Okay,
order.
Thank you. I'll pause.
But I want that try me.
Yeah, Chair, recusal is not a personal matter. It is a matter of a substantial conflict. And so we must just clear that up. It's not personal. It's procedural to say that we must be clear. It's a substantial conflict.
Yeah, but Honorable Souls,
I'm raising a point of order. It's misleading to say that we are trying to do something that's a personal matter and we're trying to enforce something that's not procedural. We are raising a point that there's a substantial conflict and procedure holds. You must recuse yourself.
It might be nice today, but you're establishing a precedence that is not sustainable, Honorable Nomvan. You ought to be it doesn't matter how you feel at the time. You ought to look at the future and turn tables as to what's going to happen if this happens to us one day. I know how these chaps operate. Extremely unprincipled. Today they want to appear like they've got principle on recusal and all manner of things. Again, to say what General has presented here must be accepted as a gospel truth because it was said by a police officer under oath, then we must take what he says about Honorable Mkhwanazi because it's been said under oath. And why should we proceed about any other thing? Because everything General said here, a police officer under oath is a honest truth, nothing else but the truth, and no one can question it. It's unprincipled. General has presented what he presented. We are going to question him tomorrow. We're still going to put whatever he put before us to test. So I'm pleading with you, Honorable Chairperson, don't fall into a temptation to do things that are unconstitutional. This is a proportional democracy, proportional representatives, and we are here constituted by how we are represented in Parliament, and our parties shall decide on those things. Members have raised their issues, the public has listened to them, honorable members had them, the party she represents have had them, and she will make that determination tomorrow. And it's as simple as that. No chairperson has got a right to choose who sits in this committee, who doesn't sit in this committee. Last point. All of you who are making the recusal point, why is none of you not quoting the rules of Parliament on recusal? And why is none of you quoting the terms of reference on recusal?
In response, General Mkhwanazi turned his attention to two other prominent names, Robert McBride, the former head of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, IPID, and Paul O'Sullivan, a well-known private forensic investigator. Mkhwanazi called on Parliament to launch a full-scale investigation into the relationship between these two men. He wanted a probe into their meeting venues, their cell phone locations, and the very nature of their interactions concerning official investigations. The source of this information, Mkhwanazi claimed, was once again the minister's chief of staff, Cedric Ngabinde. Ngabinde had allegedly told him that the operations of IPID, the police watchdog, were being planned, coordinated, and executed not from a government office, but from Paul O'Sullivan's private house. Mkhwanazi insisted that a detailed investigation using cell phone data would place McBride, O'Sullivan, Ngabinde, and others at that location, proving that they were all operating under the guidance of O'Sullivan. This allegation painted a stunning picture. The country's official police oversight body was potentially being run by a private citizen. The questions surrounding O'Sullivan didn't stop there. Responding to Malema's inquiry about whether O'Sullivan was an agent for MI6, the UK's Foreign Intelligence Agency, Mkhwanazi called for an exhaustive financial investigation. He urged Parliament to examine every financial record belonging to Paul O'Sullivan and all the individuals mentioned in his testimony. He argued that only by following the money could they truly conclude whether O'Sullivan was a legitimate, clean businessman or, as some have publicly claimed, a foreign agent. Mkhwanazi warned that O'Sullivan's influence had grown so deep that if the government failed to act, the people of the country might be forced to take drastic measures themselves. The general's testimony also touched upon mysterious and sophisticated surveillance equipment. He expressed a keen interest in the origins of a particular gadget that had been purchased by the city of Johannesburg's Metro Police. This purchase happened when General Shadrack Sibiya was in charge of security there. Mkhwanazi wanted to know who authored the report that led the city of Johannesburg and the National Commissioner to ask the State Security Agency about the legality of this device. He also wanted to know precisely how this gadget was sourced from the United Kingdom. He then revealed that another, similar gadget had been bought by the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigation, also known as the Hawks, back in 2010. At that time, General Sibiya was also working at the Hawks. Mkhwanazi called for a thorough investigation into whether that device was bought legally, who the supplier was, and who manufactured it. The repeated appearance of the same senior officer in connection with the acquisition of these powerful tools raised deeply troubling questions about surveillance and power. The intricate connections between the key players were further illuminated when Mkhwanazi detailed his own history with them. He spoke of how Cedric Nkabinde, the chief of staff, seemed to have been appointed to his powerful role without a clear understanding of what the job entailed. Mkhwanazi recalled Nkabinde phoning him before the official appointment to ask what a chief of staff actually does. This suggested an inexperienced individual placed in a position of immense influence, someone who had to learn on the job and even turn to the minister's former chief of staff for guidance. Mkhwanazi also revealed a personal meeting with Senzo Mchunu, arranged by Nkabinde, just a few weeks before Mchunu was appointed Minister of Police. He described driving with Nkabinde to Mchunu's house, where they drank coffee and got acquainted. It was during this meeting, Mkhwanazi testified, that Nkabinde told him that the controversial businessman, Brown Mkhwanazi, was very close to Mchunu. This was significant because Mkhwanazi has been accused of unlawful interference in police operations and having associations with organized crime. Minister Mchunu had initially tried to distance himself from Mkhwanazi, only to later confirm that he knew him as a comrade.
Minister Mchunu, claiming that this man is a comrade, the political party consensus is not a comrade. That means the conclusion we must draw is that this is not a comrade, it's a criminal. That the minister is invited to be part of the police. Minister lied when he said he's a comrade. When I became aware of this gentleman in as early as end of September in 2024, and confirmed by the Chief of Staff that he's a friend of the minister. And subsequent to that, and the team started uncovering the communication on the cell phone, which happened later in May, somewhere about this year. And when they started realizing that means this Brown Mkhwanazi has got more role to play in policing matters than what we think of.
This pre-appointment meeting, orchestrated by Nkabinde, seemed designed to show Mkhwanazi just how connected Nkabinde was to the incoming minister. The web of alleged corruption and political protection extended to the highest office in the land. Mkhwanazi questioned Minister Mchunu's decision to classify the IPID report on President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala farm scandal as top secret. The scandal involved charges of defeating the ends of justice, kidnapping, and bribery related to the theft of a large sum of US dollars from the president's farm. Mchunu, known as an ally of the president, had defended his decision by saying it was necessary to protect witnesses. But Mkhwanazi was skeptical. He asked the committee why a minister would classify a report from IPID, which is not an intelligence structure. He questioned what the report was doing with the minister in the first place and whether the minister even possessed the required security clearance to make such a classification. It was another example, in his view, of the system being manipulated by those in power to protect themselves. The general's testimony also reached back in time, implicating another former police minister, Nathi Mthethwa, who recently passed away in France while serving as an ambassador. Mkhwanazi made the explosive claim that crime intelligence had secretly used a slush fund to build a 600,000 rand wall at Mthethwa's private home in KwaZulu-Natal. He clarified that he believed this was done without Mthethwa's knowledge or request. Mthethwa's family has strongly denied this, insisting they paid for the wall themselves. Mkhwanazi also recounted his own frustrating experiences working under Mthethwa around 2012, when he was the acting National Police Commissioner. He described how Mthethwa had pressured him to advertise police notices exclusively with The New Age, a newspaper owned by the infamous Gupta family. Mthethwa allegedly told him not to use other publications because they did not want to transform. Mkhwanazi even recalled a time when Mthethwa wanted to introduce him to a Gupta associate at a hotel in Pretoria. These revelations from the past served to illustrate that the problem of political interference was not new, but a long-standing issue.
Honorable Chair, honorable members, people will say Mkhwanazi is very insensitive, but when we talk the honest truth, we must tell the truth. The country was in pain to listen to how much of money was spent at the former president's house, homestead at Nhlanhla, because there was an accountability that was happening at the time. But this government has never paid attention on the amount of expenditure that was incurred by crime intelligence over years, interrogate that within the Secret Service account, the misuse of the Secret Service account. Obviously, the Joint Standing Committee is supposed to do that. It's disturbing when reports supposed to be presented to such structures to hold people accountable. Nothing happens to it. We are sitting today, the country is in mourning because we lost one of our ambassadors in France. But then ambassador was a minister of police. As you switch on the television and you watch the homestead of the former minister of police, you're going to see a very big wall, perimeter wall, that was built by the money from crime intelligence. But nobody was held accountable for such, and reports are there. So 2011, we're experiencing all these things. It's members from crime intelligence that takes the money out of crime intelligence to use them to take control of the executive authority. The minister never asked for the wall. The members from crime intelligence took the money, secret fund account, to make that wall so they can get control of the minister. So tomorrow they can then loot that money on their own. Then the minister can't say anything. It's the same thing brings us here today. Minister of Police, Minister Senzo Mchunu, was made to sign a letter by the raw people within the organization.
Perhaps the most visceral and immediate part of Mkhwanazi's testimony concerned the deadly consequences of this nexus between crime and power. He directly linked a series of recent assassinations of popular DJs and entertainers in Gauteng province to feuds over drugs. This was the first time a police official of his rank had publicly confirmed the rumors that had been swirling in the public domain. The victims included well-known names like DJ Somebody, DJ City Lights, and DJ Vintos. Mkhwanazi laid out the story of a massive drug consignment, valued at 200 million rand, that had mysteriously disappeared from police custody in KwaZulu-Natal. He explained that the theft occurred during a night of load shedding or scheduled power cuts. The drugs had been properly entered into the police station's register, but were then booked out and transported to a Hawks office in Port Shepstone that had no security guard. When the break-in happened, the thieves were remarkably selective. The storage facility also contained other drugs and illegal firearms, including an AK-47, which were left untouched. The only thing stolen was that specific 200 million rand consignment. To Mkhwanazi and his investigators, this was proof that it was not a random burglary. It was a planned mission by the owners to collect what is theirs. He then connected this stolen consignment to the murdered entertainers. He said the drugs ended up in the hands of some of these individuals and were being circulated and sold at nightclubs in Gauteng at a cut-rate price. This act of stealing another cartel's product and undercutting their market attracted the lethal attention of the original owners, a powerful syndicate Mkhwanazi referred to as the Big Five. He stated plainly that when the cases eventually go to court, the picture that will emerge is one where one person thought he was clever by stealing another's drugs, and for that, he was killed. Mkhwanazi provided more detail on this shadowy Big Five cartel. He described its members as tenderpreneurs, individuals who had become wealthy through government contracts. They live lavish lifestyles, funded by the state, while allegedly engaging in drug trafficking, contract killings, cross-border vehicle hijackings, and extortion. He explained to the committee that he could only publicly name 2 of the 5 members because they have already appeared in court. These are Vusimuzi Nhlanhla, the same man whose arrest allegedly triggered the disbandment of the PKTT, and Getiso Molefe, another murder accused. Both men have previously been awarded government tenders worth hundreds of millions of rands. The identities of the other 3 members of the cartel are known to the police, but Mkhwanazi advised the committee to invite the crime intelligence team investigating the matter to reveal those names in a closed, in-camera session to avoid jeopardizing the case.
To answer the question of the honorable member, I think it's important to look at that sketch that we've put in the statement. You are asking who are these Big Fives. We can only talk about the Big Five of those that are already arrested and they are in court. Those that have not been arrested, unfortunately, we're not in a liberty to talk about them. You will see that the Big Five on this graph are those that are marked with red on that picture on the left. So that whole group The only names that we are making it visible here are the two names.
Okay.
And that's a name of a Vusmus Matlala, who is known as Cat, as well as Katiso Molefe. Both individuals have been to court, and I think you are privy to the court processes related to their cases. We have the other three that we did not reflect here. They are known. Their names are known. I must say, Honorable Chair and members, these are tenderpreneurs. These are the people that the government has been awarding tenders to. They are quite big financially. They are part of this whole lot. We did not put their names because we did not want to implicate people before they appear before court, except the others. The place that we feel comfortable to talk about it, we name the names, and the others that we're not comfortable with, we did not put the names.
The Divisional Commissioner for Crime Intelligence, Lieutenant-General Dumisani Khumalo, had previously told another commission that to become a member of this cartel, one needed to hold an official position within the criminal justice system, own a registered private security company, and possess dual citizenship to move easily across borders. The cartel's objective, he said, was to capture key elements within the justice system to ensure its own long-term survival. As the testimony continued, the focus shifted to the media's role in this saga. General Mkhwanazi accused certain journalists of being captured by rogue crime intelligence officers, used as tools to publish stories that pushed a specific agenda. He singled out a city press journalist, Abram Masheko, who had sent him a media inquiry about a supposed legal stab from General Shadrach Sibiya, a claim that never materialized. Mkhwanazi questioned the journalist's decision to report on what he considered clear misinformation and called for mechanisms to hold journalists accountable for publishing false reports. He was careful to state that not all journalists were complicit, and that some who had previously written negative stories were now beginning to connect the dots themselves. The publication later stated it had noted his comments with concern and would investigate if any proof was provided. Throughout his hours of testimony, the immense personal risk to the general was a constant, unspoken presence. A committee member, Chola Ngola, finally asked him directly if his family had been threatened and if they had adequate protection. Mkhwanazi's response was sober and revealing. He explained that he had relatives scattered across the country and that he simply did not have the money to hire private bodyguards for all of them. Their safety, he said, could only be guaranteed by the same men and women in blue who are tasked with protecting every other citizen. In his view, his family's safety was equal to the safety of everyone else, a stark admission of his own vulnerability.
The safety of my family is a responsibility of police officers around the country. I said in the public before that I've got family members in majority of these provinces of South Africa. And to guarantee their safety, it's up to the men and women in blue out there to provide security. I don't have money, Honorable Chair and members, to hire bodyguards for my family members. It's impossible. I cannot do that.
As the proceedings drew to a close for the day, the weight of the general's words hung heavy in the room. He had painted a picture of a nation's security apparatus compromised at every level. From a minister allegedly forced to sign a letter to protect a criminal, to a police watchdog supposedly run from a private home, to a drug cartel of government-funded tenderpreneurs murdering rivals with impunity, and a media landscape allegedly weaponized by rogue officers. His testimony was not just an accusation, it was a desperate plea for intervention, a warning that the very foundations of law and order were cracking under the strain of corruption and conspiracy. What are your thoughts on General Mkhwanazi's revelations about corruption and hidden influences in South Africa's police and political systems? Do you think these disclosures will lead to real changes, or is there even more that needs to be uncovered, and why? Share your opinions in the comments below. Thanks for watching this news bulletin. Please share your opinion in the comments section. We would be glad to read and respond to your comments. Let's meet again tomorrow in our next strange story. Have a fantastic Friday and get ready for the weekend.